Hi, welcome back to our video series on just answering that question, what is a disciple? And we're looking at characteristics, and we started with the gospel because that's where it begins and it ends. And then we looked at being a follower and just that idea that it's not enough just to believe in Jesus, but we're supposed to actually be living things out. Because if we're not living out our faith, if we're not actually reading Scripture, seeing it as a truth, and realizing it's commands for us to live out, then we're not truly a disciple. And then if you began to look at that and study that scripture where Jesus called people to follow him, you probably notice some things that are going to lead you into what we're going to talk about today. Because, see, in following Christ, he never promised it was going to be easy. In fact, he promised us it would be hard. He said we'd be rejected, we'd be persecuted for what we believe, for our faith, because he said that, you know what, they rejected me. Because of that, we're going to need something very important, and this is a big part of being a disciple and discipleship, and that's relationships. You know, if you think again about disciples and our main example of discipleship, which is Jesus and his followers, they did life together. This wasn't just, hey, let's schedule a Bible study, or hey, let's meet at church on Sundays. They truly did life together, and in day-to-day interactions and relationships, they were growing and they were learning and they were becoming better followers of Christ. And see, that's what it comes down to. We need relationships. Discipleship's about relationships. This site, well, I like it and I think it's a great tool for you. I think our studies are great resources for you. That is not your sole means of discipleship. This is not your discipleship partner. This is just a tool for you to use to begin to learn and grow. Discipleship is about relationships. So if you want to be a disciple, you need to be in relationships with others. You need to have someone who is discipling you, and someone's helping you grow, and then in turn you need to have someone else who you are discipling, who you're helping to grow in those same areas. And now these relationships have, different parts to them. Some we're going to look at, like encouragement, accountability, where we're keeping each other from sin, and we'll look at some of those aspects. But the big thing right now is it's about relationships. That's what being a disciple is. Used to I thought, what, I'm more holy and spiritual if I can do things on my own, but that's not the case. That's not the way God designed us. God said it's not good for man to be alone, and he designed us for those relationships, that community, that connection. It's usually the first response you see in Scripture is people follow Christ and they join some community, and you need that. So if you haven't done that, you need to find that. You need to find a local church that you can plug into. You need to find a small group you can be a part of. And then out of that, you need to find one person or two people that you can meet with who can disciple you, and then in turn find some people who you can disciple. Someone you're sharing the gospel with, you're helping to grow. So I encourage you, look at your relationships right now. Is there anything or anyone who is that playing those roles in your life? If not, you need to find those people. Also, begin to look around and go, who is it that God's calling you to reach out to? Who's God calling you to disciple? Could be somebody in a class. Could be somebody at your church. Could be somebody at work. Could be a family member. Maybe one of the most beautiful things I can think of is for you to disciple the people in your family. Especially if you're listening to this and you're a dad, for you to disciple your kids. That'd be huge. Even if you're a mom, that's huge too. If you're a single mom, I pray for you. I know it's got to be a huge struggle. It's got to be hard. But if you'd be able to disciple your kids and help them grow, not leave that to someone else, but you just say, I'm going to take that role. So take a moment to think about that. Remember, being a disciple is about relationships. If you're doing this alone, you're not doing it right. You need to find someone who you can discuss with, wrestle with these things, study scripture with, talk things out, confess sin, all this stuff. It's about relationships. So if you're not forming those relationships with people who know Christ or helping you grow, and people who don't know Christ so that you can reach them, then you need to make some changes and go form those relationships right now.